My11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. The action in England shifts up north to Durham, to the Riverside Stadium at Chester Street. And if you look back to the start of the tournament, if you had sort of looked into a crystal ball in reverse into this fixture and said, Sri Lanka, South Africa, probably one of those games where South Africa will be on the verge of a semi-final spot and Sri Lanka will just be playing for pride. Well, folks, it's the other way around. South Africa already eliminated from the tournament and Sri Lanka with still a chance of making it to the top four. So everything to play for in Durham. I've got in the studio Joy Bhattacharjya Zaheer Khan. Who would have thought that Sri Lanka would be still alive? But that one fixture, we keep mentioning it, they've beaten England, not just for themselves, they've thrown the tournament wide open.
I think when you're going to look back at this World Cup, I think that that match is going to go a long way, because that has put immense pressure on England as well and has turned the fortunes for Sri Lanka. The big thing what Sri Lanka did, I think with inexperienced captain, there was some talk of Malinga being the bowling captain. You know, that's something which has certainly helped Sri Lanka revive their campaign, and Malinga taking responsibility upon himself to make sure that he's leading the pack as far as bowling is concerned. You know, he's been phenomenal in the previous match as well, and in the last couple of years, since the time he's made his comeback from Asia Cup, you know, he's been superb. He's a match winner, and you needed that inspiration. You've seen it with Pakistan also. They've turned things around with someone like Haris Sohail coming in, Amir contributing with his bowling. So I think with Sri Lanka, it was the captain himself who has been amongst the runs, and Malinga leading the way.
Is it really all these cricketing factors or just the fact that they won yellow?
I was thinking about it for a long time. I remember after the 2009 season of deciding that KKR's colours had to change. You know, Juhi Chawla comes on day and says these colours can get out of black and gold. Black is an inauspicious colour too. But I'll tell you what really is the matter is, it's like once a superstition sticks, something goes right and you win, you don't want to change it. It's exactly, I mean, this superstition is exactly the same as people not allowing to change their positions and go to the bathroom when Kapil was batting, you know, when he reached 175. It's the same thing. Why change it? You know, if you're in a situation like that. But I was also thinking, exactly 10 days back, we were sitting out here and saying, in the next 5 days, 4 teams could be eliminated and we were left with effectively just 5 teams for 4 positions. And then suddenly everything went topsy-turvy. You know, Sri Lanka beat England, everything went topsy-turvy after that. And it's been such a fantastic World Cup. If predictability was what the first part of the World Cup about, second part of the World Cup has all been about unpredictability.
But just to update everyone, in case you're wondering why we are talking about yellow, of course, has been the whole talk of the away jerseys, whether or not India are happy wearing orange, etc., etc. But from Sri Lanka's point of view, they are delighted. They played their away jersey against England, which is more yellow than blue. They won the game, and then they asked the ICC if they could continue to play in that yellow, whether they're the home or away team, and they said, yeah, go ahead, no problem. And that's exactly what they're doing, sticking to that little superstition perhaps. Just to confirm where things are on the points table, yes, South Africa have been eliminated, and this will show you that. They're down on 3 points with no hope of a mathematical qualification either. Sri Lanka on 6 thanks to 2 no results. It means that they win their remaining 3 games, and that gives them a pretty healthy chance of getting in there. Now let's give you the scenarios first. This is how they can make it in. If they win all their 3 remaining games, they just need England to drop points in one of their 2 matches, and England have 2 tough games against India and New Zealand. However, if they win 2 out of 3, they need England to lose both their games and need Bangladesh and Pakistan to finish on a maximum of 9 so that they can get ahead on 10 points. So these are the scenarios for Sri Lanka. At least much of it is in their hands. Not all of it, but much of it.
Yes, because even if they go to 12 points and England manages to win those 2 games, then it's going to be tough for them to qualify, to go through, unless then New Zealand manage to lose both the games. You know, there are different kind of permutation combinations which are going to come into play. But for any team, I think when you are in this kind of situation, it's just important that they focus on the processes, and first things first, you know, get those 2 points. So I think for Sri Lanka also, it's important that they focus on just getting to that 12 points and take a match at a time. You know, that's something which is the most important thing to do. Rest of the things can happen. Now they've asked for the away jersey, so hope that that luck continues with them and they win this match, because it's important that from that last match win, they build on it, because they've had a break of sorts coming into this match. So that's something which they have to be mindful of. Pradeep missing today's match is actually not really a good news for Sri Lanka starting with, because Chesterley Street wicket usually has favored seamers, and with Pradeep we've seen how effective he is with helpful conditions. Especially when there is enough in the wicket for the seamers to get that seam movement. That's his strength. So I think Pradeep will be missed for Sri Lanka in this match.
Certainly will be. Let's just confirm the team for you, and I'll get Joy into it. The reason why Zaheer is mentioning that, because there's no known Pradeep today. Suranga Lakmal takes his place, of course, more experienced but less impactful.
100%. It has to be injury. There can be no other reason why on this surface they did not play, who is a premier bowler. Definitely it is injury, and if they had to replace, anyone as a fast bowler and bring in Lakmal, it would have been Udana. They would not have touched with Pradeep. Pradeep is their, star campaigner, other than Lasith, of course. The other interesting thing is, if you see Sri Lanka, we're talking a lot about Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has had one good win. They huffed and puffed and beat Afghanistan. Okay, they lost comprehensively to, I think it was to England. They lost comprehensively to Australia. They lost badly to Australia. There's one decent match they've played. Again, the first half of the match, everyone looked they were out of it. Then they, got England in a tough spot. Malinga bowled brilliantly, and then they got them into trouble.
But in a sense, if you continue to look at this, everyone suggests that Sri Lanka's best chance is to put runs on the board and then defend it, which is what they've got to do despite losing the toss.
Correct. They have to put runs on the board. That's not at all a bad thing for them. And I think at this point in time, South Africa is also not completely sure of what they want to do. All they know in their heads is they want to win, but obviously it's not there. So I think batting first will suit Sri Lanka. The other thing I've noticed in this World Cup is veterans will give you a certain amount of performance. When did Sri Lanka finally win? When their two most veteran cricketers, Angelo Matthews and Lasith Malinga, came to the table. If you look at Australia now, who's performing for them? It's basically Stark, Warner, Finch, veteran guys. Our veterans are coming in for us. The fact of the matter is, Mohammad Amir, out of nowhere, where has he been in the last couple of years? Nowhere. Suddenly comes back. A big tournament, you're going to have one or two young guys who are going to sparkle. But if your veterans don't come in, you can't win consistently.
And that's what you've been mentioning throughout. I mean, the one opposite to that is someone like a Razzie van der Dusen, who's been okay, but obviously you need someone more like a Faf du Plessis to come to the party and contribute big runs.
So you add his runs when the start has been good. What South Africa has been missing is that start. Amla has been off colour. Faf has been getting the start, but not really capitalizing on that. Not going on to get a big one. You look at any team who has fared well in this tournament, are the guys at the top contributing. So that has been the main hallmark. You look at New Zealand, you look at Australia, you look at India for that matter. I think the teams who have consistently been doing well, their top three, one of them has been consistent with giving that start and converting that start into a decent innings. You've seen 150 plus scores from Kane Williamson and Warner both. You've seen 200s from Rohit Sharma. That is something which has been missing with this South Africa team. They can go on defending and saying and giving excuses, dime a dozen. But the fact has been that their batting has not been consistent. Van der Dusen comes into bat at number 5. So at number 5, he's put up the numbers which are decent enough for in context of how the tournament has gone. But the start always has been bad, and that's something which Joyda was trying to say, that your senior guys need to take that responsibility. Van der Dusen is actually a young guy who has come into this World Cup. Your senior guys are the ones who should be leading from the front, and Amla, Faf, Quinton de Kock from that point of view are their experienced players. Miller and Dumini being another one. Your Dumini has been out of the team. So that is something which is never a great sign for any team, and their points table and their results also show that. So there's been a lot of complaint about the bowling side, but I think they're just firing in the wrong direction. It doesn't make sense at all.
I go back to the IPL. whenever you have a situation, they were leading the table or not, if your number 6 batsman is your top scorer, there is something wrong with the team. There's
Yeah,
something.
and just to confirm the figures that we showed you for Van der Dusen, he's the leading run scorer for them. So if it was just about saying, well done, Van der Dusen, but Amla has 100 more runs than you and Quinton has 200 more than you, you'd be okay.
Exactly. Why do they use the word finishers? They are there to finish. They are not there to build an innings. So if your number 5 and number 6 batsmen are the highest scorers, you are in trouble as a team. And exactly as he said, you can talk all about bowlers, rest, fatigue, all the factors in the world.
So, of course, then if you say South Africa, as Zaheer said, have been making a few excuses, this would have to be the battle of the excuse makers. Because Sri Lanka, while they put things right with the England game, they still had that history of excuses in the tournament. So, who's going to have less excuses at the end of the day in Durham? Let's first look at the South African squad, and then we'll talk about that one little issue that's plaguing them with another court added to the mix with Kagiso Rabada. 2 changes in the team. Dwayne Pretorius comes back, as does JP Duminy for a little groin injury to David Miller. It could just be a tactical change. But Pretorius is one of those who just comes into the team whenever he has to fill in a role. He hasn't really contributed the way the all-rounders like Morris and Pekluquayo have.
Also, that's a sign for you. What you're saying, you've dropped a guy who's a better bowler for a guy who's a slightly better batsman, but maybe not the quality of bowler. So what you're saying, the message you're actually giving is, my top 6 are not doing the job. But the problem is, if your top 6 don't do the job, you can bat till 7, 8, 9, 10 and get 5 more bits and pieces bowlers who won't do that much for you. It's a defensive move. And look, I'm just frankly surprised, because when I have nothing to lose in the tournament, I'd go on the attack at least. Why am I going defensive?
Unless there's unless just Lungi isn't feeling 100%.
I think he's not fit. And that has seen right throughout the tournament. He was looking rusty. He was looking short of bowling, and it's not easy for anyone to come off injury. So you can't really blame the guy. He's done everything possible to get himself there, be ready for the World Cup. But unfortunately, that has not happened for him, and that has gone against South Africa for sure. Also, losing someone like Dale Steyn has not helped them. So yes, from that point of view, you can look at it. The campaign and say that, we've had some injury issues and we couldn't play our best playing 11. But what is the main reason that your team has not been winning matches? The reason has not been whether you are able to, your bowling is suffering that badly, you are scoring 300, 350 and you are not able to defend that total because your main bowlers are not there. If that was the reason, then you can live with that. You can say that, okay, valid excuse, it's been unfortunate for South Africa. But here that's not been the case, and that's why with all the excuses going around, it's I think when you know that you're out of the tournament, you shouldn't be thinking about all these things now. And it's time about showing that togetherness as a team, as a group, and backing each other as a group. Accept the fact that yes, we've had a tough tournament. We had tough few days. Our experienced batsmen have been off color and they couldn't really deliver. And move on. No one is going to hold you responsible for that. Yes, anyone can lose form, anyone can have bad days, and anyone can have bad tournament. I mean, you're talking about the best of the teams going through rough phases and not qualifying also. So it's not end of the world, but it's just about staying true to yourself and staying honest. I think that's one thing I'm a little disappointed to see from a captain like Faf. I think a captain, a leader of the pack should be taking more responsibility, and especially when your batting has not fired and you yourself is one of the key component of that batting unit, then take more responsibility.
And what hasn't helped either, we've talked so much about the AB de Villiers issue. That's not the only issue plaguing them off the field. Another statement from Faf du Plessis, and this is related to the IPL since we mentioned it moments ago. We did try and get him not to go to the IPL, like that's the reason why South Africa aren't qualifying, is because KG Rabada played in the IPL, so he's been below his best. To try and stay in Great Fresh, that wasn't the case, of course, and then when he went there, we were like, let's try and get him back halfway, because it's important not just for him, but a few other players. Now that's again another statement. Even for the sake of argument, if there was some hint of truth in it, this is the time to bring it out.
Exactly, that's one point. That why is all this? Why is this discussion about de Villiers now? Why is this coming up now? And the fact of it is, I want to Faf. I mean, he's a great guy, hand on heart to turn around and say it. Halfway through, if he was asked to go back from the IPL, would he have done it or not? Because the day he would have done it, the next year Chennai would not have renewed his contract. Because the fact of the matter is that you can't do that. And the fact, how much you bowling in the IPL, it's not as if you bowl 15, 20 overs a day in the IPL. You don't even bowl 10 overs a day. So to say that the IPL is a reason his workload seems, I mean, frankly, I don't know where they're coming from.
I personally have always enjoyed bowling more and more and playing more matches, because that's what something keeps you in tune with the pressures of the game. And you're talking about that game time, you're talking about that mindset in the game time is something which has worked for me. Even if you look at the numbers, I mean, are you talking about, say, a difference of 30 overs? Are you talking about 30, 35
Exactly.
overs?
That's 198 overs across all formats. Reduce what he bowled in the IPL. Is that what made the huge difference? I mean, it could be a freak injury, it could be whatever, like say with Dale Steyn. It was not necessarily the number of overs he bowled. It's just the fact that he happened to pick up whatever injury he did while he was there.
That's A. Two is that, let's break it up very simply. If you say 14 matches, okay, if it's exactly 14 matches, how many days has he actually played? It's also the number of days you're out on the field, fielding for an entire day, bowling for an entire day. I don't think it adds up to look like stunning figures. I mean, at their peak, I'm sure Zaheer would have played far more games. At one time, India was playing 45, 50 one-day matches a year. So, to say that workload is a factor for Rabada being very, I don't know. I mean, Zach would obviously have a much better answer, but as he said, that he enjoyed bowling much more than.
Yeah, I think it's just an exaggerated kind of excuse, maybe a very lame deflection tactics, maybe used by Faf, but it's not it's not going well with me, only for the simple fact that when you're losing, don't point fingers at others. And if you have to point fingers, don't point fingers at your teammates. So are you putting the whole blame of the campaign on one particular guy? And that's never fair. It's a team game. You have to look at it that way. And being captain, you have to be more responsible about things. And take more responsibility. So that's something which is missing, I feel. And then the blame game starts, and it's never a great environment if there are fingers being pointed. I mean, for Rabada, to his defense also, he can have few things to add. And one thing is for sure, that with this South African team after the World Cup, there will be some tough calls being taken, and there will be a lot of long discussions, and the road forward will be determined. And yeah, I won't be surprised if they actually make that change of shift in leadership.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about the possible workloads, but just a quick reminder that there's no Lungi in Gidi, and I've got him in my 11 circle team. So quick reminder, while I change him in my team because he's not playing today, there's Dwayne Pretorius in, there's also Dumini out, or rather Dumini in for David Miller. So select the match, which today is Sri Lanka against South Africa in Durham. And the promise that lies at the end of it all is Dada Kavada, which is 5 times the amount of cash if you can be our Beat the Expert champion, which we've had plenty from around the country. But just coming back very quickly, Zaheer, you've yourself been the leader of the attack. You've been a bowling captain in many senses, and a captain, of course. But for you to manage yourself and manage the rest of the attack, it's possible. You know how you can do it, no matter what's gone before or what's coming after. When you know there's a tournament.
It actually helps your bowling. If you're just thinking about the game all the time, you're actually making the plans for others as well. That keeps you in tune with the game. You're always in the game time, thinking about what can be done, and thinking about different style of bowling as well. So that is something which I've made conscious effort even in my playing days, to make sure that you are, say, suppose Ishant is bowling, okay, what kind of angle he bowls, what is his strength, what is batsman's weakness, and then you advise accordingly. So I think Malinga is also in the same kind of scenario, and he did it, in previous matches as well. I mean, to me, he should have been the captain of Sri Lankan team going in this World Cup, considering maybe this is going to be his last 50 over
big
World Cup.
tournament,
Yeah, so he charged, and you can just look at his body language, how he is, and wanting to contribute, wanting to win matches, and when they were losing, you could see the frustration also, that how that desperation, which is very important for your revival. So Malinga has been a champion bowler and a great tactician as well. He has evolved as bowler with his career and the injury worries and the trouble which he has had, and he has worked on it. And when he put his hand up before Asia Cup, he was very certain that he want to contribute. He's there. He knew his abilities and he backed his abilities, and the results are in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Asia Cup onwards, 29 wickets, and you can see as you said, talking about a veteran, talking about managing vis-a-vis what South Africa are talking about with Rabada. He's managed it for himself, and in a sense, yes, there was talk about him being captain, but I think it's worked out well if he's the bowling captain, and Karunanathan is turning out to be not a bad leader either.
Not bad. I told you, Karunanathan's senior in school. Karunanathan's school captain was Angelo Matthews. Malinga is there, so you would have told Angelo, batting unit is yours. This is your bowling unit. Guys, I will depend on you guys very heavily. I'm just there as a figure to go and do a toss, but all of us are going to make the decision. I think if he plays it well, the only thing I feel is Sri Lanka right now have just kindled a fire. They've got a fire, they got a chance, they've made it a flame. Now, today is the big day. If they can win today, they'll have momentum, they'll have a lot of things. But that's the thing, it's just one win. They've made one decent win. They were huffing and puffing against Afghanistan as well. So, I hope they take this opportunity. They've got a chance. I hope they convert it. If they convert it, it'll be a fantastic match. If they don't, let's see.
But from Malinga's point of view, when we see the magical Yorkers coming in, it's one thing to manage your body, one thing to manage the matches. It's another thing to continue to execute those skills that you've done even as a youngster. And it's magical to see him bring that back time after time.
Well, when you see an opportunity like what they have right now in the tournament, you forget about your aches and pains. that energy comes naturally. So I'm sure Malinga is in that zone right now, and the fact that they had a few days off also must have helped him in terms of getting that body sorted and cranking that pace up again.
Yeah, it's cranking the pace up, getting it in the right places. The only thing I can never tell right now, looking at his expression, is how much has Joy cranked the pace up in terms of question standard. Where are we today on that? How do you rank a
not
question?
Bad. This is actually slightly faster than this thing. It's a fairly, because it's an interesting one, and if you look at it, records break all. Let's take a look at it. Records often tumble during tournaments, World Cups, league matches, but only once in the World Cup's history has a record been set by one player and broken in the same innings by another player of his team. That means while an innings is going on, I've taken whatever I've done, too many. So, so my producer is saying too many hints, but a record being broken twice within the same innings by the same team.
Wow.
In a World Cup match.
In a World Cup match.
That is super.
In a World Cup match, yeah.
And I think again.
And in a World Cup match, in a World Cup which you've played.
Ah, well, that's too many hints now.
Okay, no, you haven't played the match, but in a World Cup match, in a World Cup which he has played.
I would honestly rank that as a Malinga Yorker. You've really got to dig deep. You've got to look down and try and pick that up.
He has narrowed it.
Yeah, he's helping. He's helping by saying basically the toppers run up that I'm going to bowl a Yorker.
First question you need to ask is how many World Cups I've played.
Yeah, exactly. Which are the World Cups? Yeah, exactly.
You didn't hear that. Rohit, you didn't hear that. You did not hear that. Let somebody else have a chance. But the one way that Crick Rohit cannot help us is in our predictions for the My 11 Circle Expert Couch, which of course yesterday went unattended. It was such a bad day for everyone, so today we need to make up for it. But remember, lots of X factors going. It's two teams in different territories. It's a new ground in Durham. We're not sure of the pitches. So Zaheer, I'm going to ask you to go first for a change. I always look at Joy first.
I'm actually going to go against the conditions. Even though conditions are in favor, I'm just going by the fact that what kind of position South Africa is in as a group. There might be some frustrations. They might not have that hunger which they've been talking about in the tournament. They might be in the space where they want to get over this phase and get over the World Cup and go home. So that puts them in that little iffy space. I would say 285.
285 for Sri Lanka, having been put into bat by Faf.
I'm going to go slightly lower only because I think if Avishka gets going, the score will go. If Avishka, Rabada or somebody can take him early, I'm going to go 265. I'm going to go low.
Yeah, I'm going to go even lower than that. I'm going to go for 249. 249, one of those totals which will lead to an exciting game, but Sri Lanka might just prevail in the end by about 15 or 20 runs. But that's not my prediction for later. 249 is the only number I'm throwing out. So we've got a decent little spread. We are going to try and see where we are in the 15th over on Cricbuzz Combox and then come back again. As promised always, My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.